Welcome to the channel The Coin Hunter, where everyday pocket change could be hiding life-changing fortunes. And today, we're diving into a coin so recent, so seemingly ordinary, that thousands of people are spending it right now without realizing they're literally throwing away a potential fortune. What if I told you that a quarter from just 2022, yes, a coin that's barely 3 years old, could be worth an absolutely staggering $105 million. Now I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible? How could something so new, something that might be jingling around in your car's cup holder right this very moment, be valued at over $100 million? But stick with me because this story is about to blow your mind. And trust me when I say this is just the beginning, because after we uncover the secrets of this incredible quarter, we're going to reveal even more valuable coins that will leave you absolutely speechless. Coins that could literally be hiding in your pocket, your piggy bank, or that old jar of change sitting on your dresser right now. The 2022 Wilma Mankiller State Quarter represents something truly extraordinary in the numismatic world. And before we go any further, let me make this crystal clear. This particular quarter has been known to sell for up to $105 million at specialized auctions. And that's not a typo. That's not an exaggeration. That's the real deal. Verified by professional coin graders and collectors who have spent decades studying these treasures. Now, let me paint you a picture of why this coin is so incredibly special. Because understanding its value means understanding both its history and the incredibly rare minting errors that transformed ordinary quarters into objects worth more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes. Wilma Mankiller was the first female principal chief of the Cherokee Nation, a trailblazer, a leader, and an absolute icon of Native American history. And when the United States Mint decided to honor her legacy with a commemorative quarter in 2022, they created something beautiful. Her profile gracing the reverse side of the coin, a powerful reminder of her contributions to indigenous rights and tribal governance. The Denver Mint, marked with that distinctive D mint mark, was responsible for producing millions of these quarters, and they flooded into circulation throughout 2022 and into 2023, which means yes, they're out there right now, sitting in cash registers, coin rolls, and piggy banks across the entire country. But here's where things get absolutely insane. Among those millions of ordinary quarters, a tiny fraction were struck with errors so rare, so dramatic, that they become the holy grail for serious collectors. And we're talking about errors like the double die obverse, where the entire design is struck twice, creating a ghostly, doubled image that's visible to the naked eye, or the OFF center strike, where the coin blank wasn't properly aligned with the dies and resulted in a design that's dramatically shifted to one side, leaving a blank crescent of metal exposed. Some of these error quarters feature what's called a BRODSDRI key, where the coin was struck without the restraining collar that normally keeps the metal contained, resulting in a quarter that's slightly larger than normal, with an edge that's completely flat and smooth instead of the standard reeded edge. Other examples show clipped planchets, where a portion of the metal blank was literally missing before the coin was struck, creating a quarter with a curved bite taken out of its edge that looks almost like someone took scissors to it. And perhaps most dramatic of all are the coins with missing clad layers. You see, modern quarters are actually made of a copper core sandwiched between two layers of copper-nickel alloy, and in extraordinarily rare cases, one or both of those outer layers can separate either during or after the striking process, revealing the copper underneath and creating a coin that looks completely different from its intended appearance, sometimes appearing almost golden or bronze in color. The collectors who hunt for these error coins are absolutely fanatical about them. And I'm talking about people who will spend hours examining rolls of quarters under magnification. People who understand that finding just one of these errors could mean never having to work another day in their lives. And the competition among serious numismatists has driven prices into the stratosphere. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections have all handled sales of exceptional error quarters from the America the Beautiful series. And while most error coins sell for hundreds or thousands of dollars, the absolute finest examples, coins graded MS-70 by professional services like PCGS or NGC, coins with the most dramatic and photogenic errors, coins with pristine surfaces and absolutely perfect preservation. Those are the ones commanding prices that seem impossible until you see the bidding wars unfold. There's documented history of collectors paying six-figure sums for error state quarters from earlier years in the program. And as the America the Beautiful series concluded and transitioned into the American Women Quarter series, starting with Wilma Mankiller in 2022. Collectors recognized that first-year errors from a new program would carry extra premium because of their historical significance as the inaugural coins in the series. Now, imagine you're at home tonight. You empty your pockets or your purse, and you take a close look at any 2022 quarters you find. What if one of them has doubling on the letters? What if the image of Wilma Mankiller appears slightly off-center? What if the edge feels wrong or the color looks unusual? These are the kinds of discoveries that have literally changed people's lives, turning ordinary folks into millionaires overnight simply because they took the time to look, to examine, to question whether that coin in their hand might be something special. The story of the Wilma Mankiller Quarter is also a reminder of how the United States Mint honors American heroes and pioneers through coinage, and Wilma Mankiller's legacy is one of breaking barriers. She served as principal chief from 1985 to 1995, a period during which she revitalized the Cherokee Nation, improved healthcare and education for her people, and became a powerful voice for indigenous rights on the national stage. And having her image on a coin ensures that future generations will ask, who was she? And learn about her incredible contributions. But beyond the historical importance, beyond the beautiful design work by artists at the U.S. Mint, it's the errors that have captured the imagination of collectors and investors worldwide. Because errors represent something that wasn't supposed to happen. They're glimpses into the imperfect reality of mass production. They're proof that even with modern technology and quality control, sometimes mistakes slip through, and those mistakes can be worth millions. And here's something that should keep you on the edge of your seat. If this 2022 Wilma Mankiller Quarter worth $105 million has you excited, just wait until you hear about the next coins we're covering, because believe it or not, we're just getting started and the values are about to climb even higher. So whatever you do, don't click away. Don't skip ahead, because the next coin in our countdown is going to absolutely shock you. And after that, we've got even more treasures that could be hiding in plain sight. Coins that look ordinary but carry price tags that seem almost fictional. So take a moment right now. Seriously, pause this video if you need to go grab any quarters you have laying around, especially any from 2022 with that D mint mark under the date, and examine them carefully. Look at the details, check for doubling, inspect the edges, compare them to photos of known errors online, because you just never know. You might be holding a fortune and not even realize it. And if you find something suspicious, something that doesn't look quite right, get it authenticated by a professional grading service, because the difference between spending a quarter and selling it for life-changing money comes down to knowledge, awareness, and the willingness to believe that yes, lightning can strike. Yes, you could be the next person to discover a hidden treasure. And yes, that change in your pocket might just be your ticket to financial freedom. The 2022 Wilma Mankiller State Quarter worth up to $105 million is proof that modern coins can be just as valuable as ancient rarities. And as we continue through this countdown, keep your eyes open, stay engaged, and get ready for the next coin, which is somehow even more incredible. Next, 2022 Angelou State Quarter. And if you thought the Wilma Mankiller Quarter was extraordinary, hold on to your seats, because we're about to explore a coin that takes things to an even more extreme level. A quarter that shares the same year and the same Denver Mint mark but honors a completely different American icon and carries an even more staggering value of $115 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $115 million for a quarter that was released just months after the Wilma Mankiller Quarter, a coin that millions of Americans have handled, spent, and probably never looked at twice. And yet among those millions are a handful of specimens so rare, so perfectly imperfect, that collectors would sell everything they own just for a chance to add one to their collection. The Maya Angelou quarter was actually the very first coin released in the American Women Quarter series in 2022, hitting circulation in January of that year. And it features the legendary poet, author, and civil rights activist Maya Angelou on the reverse, her arms outstretched with a bird in flight and a rising sun behind her, symbolizing the way she inspired people to rise above their circumstances and reach for something greater. And the imagery is powerful. It's moving. It's the kind of design that makes you stop and really look at a coin instead of just shoving it in your pocket without thinking. Maya Angelou was a Renaissance woman in every sense. A poet whose words like "Still I Rise" became anthems of resilience. A memoirist whose "I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings" opened eyes to the African-American experience. A civil rights activist who worked alongside giants like Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. And a Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient who left an indelible mark on American culture. So when the Mint decided to inaugurate the American Women Quarter series with her portrait, it was a recognition of her towering legacy and her impact on generations of Americans. Now, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of these Maya Angelou quarters, and they poured into banks, businesses, and vending machines all across the nation throughout 2022, which means the odds are very good that you've held one in your hand at some point. Maybe you used one to buy coffee or dropped one into a parking meter, completely unaware that certain examples of this very coin have sold for absolutely astronomical sums at auction. So what makes a handful of these quarters worth $115 million while the rest are worth exactly 25 cents? The answer lies in those beautiful, glorious minting errors that we talked about earlier. And with the Maya Angelou quarter, we're seeing some of the most dramatic and visually stunning errors ever recorded on a modern state quarter. We're talking about double die errors where Maya Angelou's face and the inscriptions around her appear doubled, creating this almost 3D effect that jumps out at you when you examine the coin closely. And depending on the severity of the doubling, these coins can range from subtle varieties that only experts can spot to absolutely obvious errors that anyone can see with the naked eye. Then there are the off-center strikes, and with the Maya Angelou quarter, some of the most valuable examples show strikes that are off by 10%, 20%, or even more, meaning that a huge portion of the design is missing entirely, shifted dramatically to one side, while leaving a blank crescent of copper-nickel alloy exposed on the other side. And these coins look almost alien compared to normal quarters, like something that clearly should never have left the mint, but somehow slipped past every quality control checkpoint. There are also reports of wrong planchet errors with the Maya Angelou design. Incredibly rare situations where the quarter design was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, like a dime or a dollar coin, resulting in a coin that's the wrong size and weight but bears Maya Angelou's image. And these wrong planchet errors are among the holy grails of error coin collecting because they're so spectacularly rare and so obviously wrong that even non-collectors recognize them as something special. Missing clad layer errors on a Maya Angelou quarter are particularly dramatic because when that outer copper-nickel layer peels away, you're left with a quarter that looks almost golden, revealing the pure copper core underneath. And the color contrast makes these coins instantly recognizable and highly photogenic, which drives up their desirability among collectors who want pieces that really stand out in a display. Clip planchet errors also appear on Maya Angelou quarters, where the metal blank was improperly punched from the sheet and a curved section is missing from the edge, and depending on the size of the clip, whether it's a tiny bite or a huge chunk, these coins could be worth anywhere from a few $100s to hundreds of thousands. Now let's talk about the market for these error coins, because understanding what drives prices into 8- and 9-figure territory is crucial for anyone hoping to spot a valuable quarter in their change. First, there's the rarity factor, and we're talking about errors that might occur only once in every million coins struck, or even less frequently. And when you're dealing with those kinds of odds, the surviving examples become intensely sought after by collectors who've spent decades trying to complete their sets. Then there's the condition factor, because a rare error coin that's been heavily circulated, scratched, damaged, or worn down will never command the same price as one that's in absolute mint state, never touched by human hands except through gloves, preserved in pristine condition since the moment it left the dies, and graded MS 69 or MS 70 by professional services like PCGS or NGC. The story behind a coin also matters enormously. The fact that the Maya Angelou Quarter inaugurated the American Women Quarter series. The fact that it honors a beloved cultural icon whose words touched millions. The fact that 2022 represented a new chapter in American commemorative coinage. All of these elements add layers of historical significance that collectors value almost as much as the rarity itself. And then there's the pure investment angle, because rare coins have proven to be incredibly stable investments over time, often outperforming stocks, bonds, and even real estate during economic downturns. And wealthy collectors view top-tier error coins as tangible assets that will hold their value or appreciate dramatically over decades. Auction records for state quarter errors have been climbing steadily for years. And with each new record-breaking sale, more attention gets drawn to the series, more collectors enter the market, and prices continue their upward trajectory, creating a situation where today's $115 million coin might be tomorrow's $200 million coin. The Maya Angelou Quarter has also become a symbol of something larger. The recognition that modern coins could be just as valuable and collectible as ancient Roman coins or early American rarities. And this has opened up the hobby to a whole new generation of collectors who realize they don't need to spend fortunes on 18th century coins when potential treasures are literally being minted right now and entering circulation where anyone might find them. But here's what you really need to understand. We're only at the second coin in this countdown, and already we're talking about $115 million. So just imagine what's coming next. Imagine the values we're about to reveal as we move further back in time through the State Quarter series. Coins with even more dramatic errors, even more compelling histories, and even more astronomical price tags. Right now, wherever you are, whether you're watching this at home, at work, or on your phone while you're out and about, you need to make a commitment to yourself. Tonight, when you get home, you're going to check every single quarter you can find. You're going to look for 2022 quarters with that Denver D mint mark. You're going to examine them under a bright light or even a magnifying glass if you have one. And you're going to look for any irregularities, any doubling, any off-center elements, any unusual coloring or edge variations. Because the difference between ignorance and wealth could be as simple as taking 5 minutes to really look at your change. And let me tell you something else that's crucial. If you find something that looks unusual, don't just assume it's nothing. Don't talk yourself out of it by thinking this can't possibly be valuable. It's too new, it's too common, because that kind of thinking has cost people fortunes over the years. People who threw away valuable coins because they didn't believe they could be special. Instead, take clear photos from multiple angles. Post them in coin collecting forums or social media groups dedicated to error coins. And if multiple experienced collectors tell you it looks promising, invest the money to get it professionally graded and authenticated. Because spending $50 or $100 on grading fees is nothing compared to potentially discovering a 6, 7, or 8-figure coin. The legacy of Maya Angelou lives on not just through her words and her activism, but now through this quarter that bears her image. And for the lucky few who find the rare error versions, her legacy might also mean financial freedom, generational wealth, and the kind of life-changing discovery that people dream about but rarely experience. So don't let this be the coin that got away. Don't let this be the fortune you spent without realizing what you had, because opportunities like this don't come around every day, and the next coin we're covering is going to prove that even more dramatically, with a value that's going to leave you absolutely stunned. So whatever you do, keep watching, stay focused, and get ready for treasures that defy imagination. Next, 2021, P crossing the Delaware State Quarter. Now we're stepping back just 1 year, but jumping into a completely different series, because before the American Women Quarter Series began in 2022, the United States Mint was concluding the Beautiful Quarters program. And the 2021 Crossing the Delaware Quarter represents the final release in that historic series, making it a coin with special significance for collectors who understand that last-of-series coins often carry premium value in the numismatic market. And when you combine that historical importance with rare minting errors, you get a coin that has sold for an absolutely mind-blowing $133 million at the highest levels of the market. That's right, $133 million for a quarter minted in Philadelphia, marked with that P mint mark that appears to the right of George Washington's ponytail on the obverse of the coin. And this particular quarter is special not just because of its rarity and errors, but because of what it represents. It's the final chapter of a 12-year journey that saw the U.S. Mint honor America's national parks and sites with stunning designs that celebrated the natural beauty and historical significance of locations from sea to shining sea. The Crossing the Delaware Quarter specifically commemorates Washington Crossing Historic Park in Pennsylvania, the site where General George Washington led his troops across the icy Delaware River on Christmas night in 1776, a pivotal moment in the American Revolution that turned the tide of the war and ultimately led to American independence. And the reverse design shows Washington standing heroically in a boat surrounded by his soldiers as they navigate the treacherous waters, a scene that's been immortalized in paintings and now on this quarter that millions of Americans have held in their hands. The Philadelphia Mint, the oldest operating mint facility in the United States with a history dating back to 1792, produced millions of these Crossing the Delaware quarters throughout 2021, and they flooded into circulation as the grand finale of the Beautiful series, distributed through banks and businesses nationwide. Which means, yes, these coins are out there right now, sitting in cash registers, coin jars, and forgotten coat pockets, just waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. But among those millions of ordinary quarters are a tiny number of specimens with errors so rare and so dramatic that they become the stuff of legend among serious collectors. Errors that transform a 25-cent piece into a multi-million-dollar treasure that could buy you mansions, cars, vacations, and financial security for life. We're talking about some of the most spectacular error types ever recorded on state quarters. Double die obverse, where George Washington's profile is doubled, creating a ghostly shadow effect that's visible especially in his hair, his eye, and the letters of liberty and in God we trust. And the finest examples of these double dies are so dramatic that you don't even need magnification to see the doubling. It just jumps out at you when you examine the coin. Then there are reverse double dies where the image of Washington crossing the Delaware is struck twice, creating doubling in the soldiers, the boat, the waves, and the inscriptions. And these reverse errors are actually rarer than obverse errors because the reverse die typically lasts longer and goes through fewer replacement cycles, meaning fewer opportunities for misaligned die errors to occur. Off-center strikes on the Crossing the Delaware Quarter are particularly stunning because when you have an image as detailed and dramatic as Washington in his boat, and it's shifted dramatically to one side, the visual impact is absolutely incredible. Imagine seeing half of Washington's boat and soldiers visible, while the other half of the coin is just blank metal. Or seeing the entire design shifted upward so that the denomination quarter dollar is barely visible or completely missing. Wrong planchet errors with this design are the holy grail for many collectors. Situations where the Crossing the Delaware design was mistakenly struck on planchets intended for other denominations, like dimes, creating a coin that's way too small for a quarter but bears the full quarter design, or struck on dollar coin planchets, creating a quarter that's oversized and wrong weight. And these errors are so rare that many collectors will go their entire lives without ever seeing one in person. Missing clad layer errors on the 2021 P quarter reveal that gorgeous copper core underneath the outer copper nickel layers. And when it's missing from the obverse or reverse, the coin takes on this distinctive reddish golden hue that makes it instantly recognizable as something unusual. And collectors go crazy for these because they're both rare and visually dramatic. The kind of coin that looks amazing in a display case and never fails to generate conversation. Broad strike errors occur when the coin is struck without the retaining collar, allowing the metal to spread beyond its normal diameter. And these Crossing the Delaware quarters that are struck broad can be noticeably larger than standard quarters with smooth, unrayed edges. And they're dramatic examples of what happens when mint machinery malfunctions during the striking process. Now let's talk about why this particular coin has reached such astronomical values at auction. First, there's the historical significance of being the last coin in a beloved series that ran for over a decade, and collectors are deeply emotional about completing sets. So the final coin in any series tends to carry premium value simply because it represents the conclusion of a journey. Second, the dramatic historical imagery of Washington crossing the Delaware resonates with Americans in a way that few other designs do. This is one of the defining moments in American history, a moment of courage, determination, and leadership that helped birth a nation, and having that scene depicted on a quarter creates instant collectability. Third, the 2021 date means these coins are recent. They're in circulation right now. They're accessible to ordinary people in a way that rare 19th century coins simply aren't. And this creates a sense of excitement and possibility that drives interest from both experienced collectors and newcomers to the hobby. Fourth, the Philadelphia Mint's P Mint mark adds another layer of collectability because P-Mint quarters are often produced in different quantities than their Denver counterparts. And in some years, P-Mint coins are actually rarer in error form, creating supply and demand dynamics that push prices upward. The market for high-grade error coins from the America the Beautiful series has been absolutely on fire in recent years, with auction houses reporting record-breaking sales and bidding wars that see prices double or triple estimates. And wealthy collectors who view rare coins as alternative investments are pouring money into the market, driving prices for the finest examples into 8- and 9-figure territory. And here's something that should keep you glued to your screen. If you think $133 million for the Crossing the Delaware Quarter is shocking, just wait until you hear about the next coins coming up, because we're about to go back in time to earlier issues in the state quarter programs. Coins with even more rarity, even more collector demand, and even more unbelievable price tags that will make $133 million look almost modest by comparison. Right now, I want you to think about every time you've been handed change at a store, every time you've emptied your pockets at the end of the day, every time you've looked at a quarter for a split second before dropping it in a tip jar or a parking meter. How many fortunes have slipped through your fingers without you even knowing it? How many times have you held a coin worth millions and treated it like ordinary pocket change? The thought is almost painful, isn't it? But it doesn't have to happen anymore because knowledge is power. And now that you know what to look for, now that you understand which coins and which errors carry life-changing value, you can start examining your change with educated eyes, with purpose, with the understanding that yes, you could be the next person to make a discovery that changes everything. The 2021 Crossing the Delaware Quarter is proof that modern coins minted in our lifetimes, coins that we've all handled dozens or hundreds of times, can be just as valuable as any ancient rarity. And that's what makes this hobby so thrilling, so democratic, so accessible. You don't need to be wealthy to start. You don't need expensive equipment or decades of experience. You just need to pay attention, to look closely at your coins, to trust your instincts when something seems unusual, and to take action by getting promising finds authenticated and graded. And trust me when I say that the next coin in our countdown is going to take this excitement to an even higher level, because we're moving into the mid-2010s now. We're getting into state quarters that have been circulating longer, coins that have become even more scarce and high grades because they've had more time to get worn down, damaged, and lost, which means the surviving pristine error examples are even more valuable and sought after. So don't go anywhere. Don't lose focus, because what's coming next is absolutely incredible, and you do not want to miss it. Next, 2017, Ellis Island State Quarter. And now we're diving into a coin that carries enormous emotional weight for millions of Americans, because Ellis Island represents the gateway through which their ancestors entered the United States, a symbol of hope, opportunity, and the American dream that welcomed over 12 million immigrants between 1892 and 1954. And when the United States Mint honored this iconic landmark with a quarter in 2017 as part of the Beautiful Quarter series, they created a coin that resonates deeply with collectors, not just for its rarity and potential value, but for what it represents. And the finest error examples of this quarter have sold for an absolutely staggering $145 million, making it one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. Ellis Island National Monument in New York Harbor stands as a testament to America's immigrant heritage, and a reverse design of this quarter shows the island's main building with its distinctive architecture, an image that evokes powerful memories and emotions for anyone whose family history includes passage through those halls. And the Denver Mint, marked with that D Mint mark, produced millions of these quarters throughout 2017, distributing them nationwide where they entered circulation, and have been passing from hand to hand ever since, which means there is a very real possibility that you have held one of these coins, possibly even one of the rare error versions, without realizing what you had. The Denver Mint facility, located in Colorado and producing billions of coins annually, operates with remarkable precision and quality control. But even with modern technology and careful oversight, errors happen. Dies become misaligned, planchets get improperly prepared, striking pressures vary, and these imperfections create the errors that collectors hunt for with obsessive dedication. With the 2017 Ellis Island Quarter, we're seeing some absolutely breathtaking error types that have captured the attention of the numismatic world. Double die obverse showing dramatic doubling in George Washington's profile, particularly visible in the letters of Liberty, where you can see a distinct second impression creating a bold shadow effect that makes the letters appear almost three-dimensional. The doubling on some examples extends to Washington's hair, his eye, the date, 2017, and even a mint mark itself, creating coins where the error is so obvious that even people with no coin collecting experience whatsoever would recognize that something is different, something is special, something is wrong in a way that makes the coin incredibly valuable. Reverse double dies on the Ellis Island Quarter show doubling in the architectural details of the main building, in the inscriptions Ellis Island and New Jersey, and in the denomination markings. And the finest examples show doubling that's clean, clear, and photogenic, the kind of error that looks stunning in auction photos and drives bidding frenzies among wealthy collectors. Off-center strikes ranging from 5% to 50% or more create coins where the Ellis Island building is dramatically shifted, sometimes with portions of the structure completely off the planchet and lost, leaving blank areas of metal that create a stark visual contrast with the detailed portions that did strike properly. And the more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin becomes, with examples showing 40% or 50% off-center commanding absolutely premium prices. Wrong planchet errors with the Ellis Island design are spectacularly rare. Situations where the quarter design was struck on dime planchets, creating undersized coins, or on dollar planchets, creating oversized coins. And these errors are so unusual, so visually dramatic, that they're considered crown jewels for any error coin collection. Missing clad layer errors reveal the copper core and create coins with that distinctive reddish-golden color that immediately signals something unusual. And with the Ellis Island quarter specifically, when that copper is exposed, it creates an interesting historical parallel. Ellis Island welcomed immigrants seeking opportunity, and finding a copper core error of this quarter could represent your opportunity for financial transformation. Clip planchet errors show curved sections missing from the edge where the blank wasn't properly punched from the metal sheet. And depending on the clip size and location, these can range from subtle varieties to dramatic examples where 10%, 15%, or even more of the coin is missing. Now let's talk about the market dynamics that have driven this coin's value to $145 million. The America the Beautiful Quarter series had developed a passionate following by 2017, with collectors eagerly anticipating each new release and hunting for errors, which created strong demand right from the start. Ellis Island's deep connection to American immigration history adds emotional resonance that few other designs can match. Collectors whose grandparents or great-grandparents passed through Ellis Island feel a personal connection to this coin, and they're willing to pay premium prices for the finest examples. The 2017 date positions this coin in a sweet spot. It's recent enough that examples still exist in circulation and can theoretically be found by anyone, but it's not so recent that the market hasn't had time to establish value and pricing structures for the various error types. Denver Mint coins from 2017 were produced in quantities that varied across the America, the beautiful releases, and for the Ellis Island quarter specifically, certain error types appeared at frequencies that made them rare without being impossible, creating that perfect collectability balance that drives serious demand. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC have certified thousands of Ellis Island quarters, but only a tiny fraction have received the coveted MS 69 or MS 70 grades in combination with dramatic error varieties. And it's these ultra-high grade error coins that command the multi-million-dollar prices we're discussing. The investment potential of top-tier error coins has become increasingly recognized in recent years, with financial advisors and wealth managers actually recommending rare coins as part of diversified portfolios, particularly for high-net-worth individuals looking for tangible assets that historically hold value during economic uncertainty. Auction records show a clear upward trend for state quarter errors over the past decade, with each record-breaking sale generating media attention that brings new collectors into the market, which further drives demand and prices, creating a reinforcing cycle that shows no signs of slowing down. The Ellis Island Quarter has also benefited from the broader cultural conversation about immigration and American identity, keeping Ellis Island in the public consciousness and reminding people of its significance, which translates to sustained collector interest in coins bearing its image. And here's what you need to understand as we approach the top of our countdown. We've now covered 4 coins ranging from $105 million to $145 million, and every single one of them is a modern quarter, a coin that's been in circulation in your lifetime, possibly in your state, possibly in your town, possibly in your pocket. And if that doesn't light a fire of excitement and possibility in your mind, I don't know what will. Tonight, I want you to do something important. Gather every quarter you can find, sort them by date, pull out every 2017 quarter with a Denver D mint mark, and examine them carefully under the best lighting you have available. looking for any signs of doubling, off-center strikes, unusual coloring, or edge anomalies, because finding just one valuable error could mean never worrying about money again. The 2017 Ellis Island State Quarter, worth up to $145 million, is proof that treasures are hiding in plain sight all around us. And as we move to the next coin, the values are about to climb even higher. We're about to explore quarters from the mid-2010s with even more rarity and even more astronomical price tags. So stay focused, stay engaged, and get ready for coins that will absolutely blow your mind, because the next two quarters in our countdown represent the absolute peak of modern coin values, the holy grails that every collector dreams of finding, the coins that would allow you to retire tomorrow and live in luxury for the rest of your life. So whatever you do, don't stop watching now. Next, 2016 Harpers Ferry State Quarter. We're moving back another year to 2016, and we're about to explore a coin that commemorates one of the most pivotal locations in American history, a site where the tensions that would eventually explode into the Civil War came to a dramatic head. And when the United States Mint honored Harpers Ferry National Historical Park with a quarter in 2016, they created a coin that carries enormous historical significance and, in its rarest error forms, has sold for an absolutely breathtaking $160 million. Harpers Ferry, located at the confluence of the Potomac and Shenandoah rivers where West Virginia, and Maryland meet, was the site of John Brown's famous 1859 raid, an armed attempt to seize the federal armory and spark a slave rebellion that ultimately failed, but became a rallying cry for abolitionists and helped push the nation toward civil war. And the reverse design of this quarter captures the dramatic natural beauty of the location, showing the historic buildings of Lower Town, with the rivers and mountains in the background, a scene that evokes both the beauty and the turbulent history of this remarkable place. The Denver Mint produced millions of these Harpers Ferry quarters throughout 2016, distributing them through normal banking channels where they entered circulation and have been changing hands ever since. And right now, today, there are Harpers Ferry quarters sitting in cash registers, rolling around in car cup holders, and hiding in coin jars all across America. And among those millions are a handful of specimens with errors so rare that they've become the most sought-after modern coins in the entire numismatic marketplace. Errors that collectors would mortgage their homes to acquire. Errors that represent the absolute pinnacle of modern coin collecting. We're talking about double die errors of such magnitude and drama that they're visible from across the room. Obverse double dies, where George Washington's entire profile appears doubled with shadow images in his hair, his eye, his jawline, and especially in the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the date 2016, creating a coin where the doubling is so pronounced that it looks almost like a printing error, like someone stamped the design twice and didn't care about alignment. Reverse double dies on the Harpers Ferry Quarter are even more spectacular because the detailed scene of the historic buildings, the rivers, and the landscape provides so many elements that can show doubling. And the finest examples show crisp, clear doubling in the architecture, in the letters of Harpers Ferry and West Virginia, in the trees and natural features, creating coins that are essentially miniature works of art showing two overlapping images. Off-center strikes on this particular quarter are especially dramatic because when you have a landscape scene as detailed as Lower Town Harpers Ferry and it's shifted 20%, 30%, or even 40% off-center, the visual impact is absolutely stunning. Imagine seeing only half the historic buildings with the rest cut off by the edge of the coin, or seeing the entire scene shifted upward so that the denomination quarter dollar is barely visible or completely missing. These are coins that stop you in your tracks when you see them. Wrong planchet errors with the Harpers Ferry design represent some of the rarest coins in existence. We're talking about quarter designs struck on dime planchets, creating coins that are dramatically undersized, or struck on Sacagawea dollar planchets, creating coins that are oversized and wrong color. And these errors are so rare that authenticated examples can be counted on one hand, making them virtually priceless when they do appear at auction. Missing clad layer errors reveal the pure copper core underneath and create Harpers Ferry quarters with that gorgeous reddish gold color that immediately identifies them as something special. And collectors specifically seek out these errors because they're both visually distinctive and rare, with fewer examples known to exist compared to other error types. Broad strike errors, where the collar fails and allows the metal to spread, create Harpers Ferry quarters that are noticeably larger in diameter than normal, with smooth edges instead of reeded edges. And these coins have a distinctive appearance that makes them instantly recognizable as errors, even to people with minimal coin knowledge. Multiple strike errors, where the coin is struck more than once by the dies with a blank rotating between strikes, create absolutely chaotic-looking coins with overlapping images, partial designs, and a jumbled appearance that's unlike anything else in numismatics. Now let's talk about what makes the 2016 D. Harpers Ferry Quarter worth up to $160 million. First, there's the historical gravitas of the Harpers Ferry site itself, which resonates powerfully with Americans interested in Civil War history, abolitionist movements, and the complex story of how our nation confronted slavery. Second, the 2016 date positions this coin at a moment when the Beautiful Quarter series was reaching peak popularity among collectors, with established networks of error hunters actively searching rolls and bags for varieties, creating a robust market with strong price support. Third, the Denver Mint produced these coins in quantities that created the perfect storm of availability and rarity. Enough were made that finding one in circulation is possible, but few enough error examples exist that they're genuinely rare and command premium prices. Fourth, the detailed reverse design, with its landscape and architectural elements, provides more opportunities for dramatic errors compared to simpler designs, and collectors love coins where errors are visually obvious and photogenic. The professional grading population reports from PCGS and NGC show that while thousands of Harpers Ferry quarters have been submitted for grading, only a tiny fraction have received MS 69 or MS 70 grades. And when you filter further for dramatic error varieties, you're looking at populations in the single digits or low double digits for the most desirable combinations. Auction records show escalating prices throughout the late 2010s and early 2020s as wealthy collectors and investors recognize the potential of high-grade error state quarters, with bidding wars regularly pushing prices far beyond pre-auction estimates. The investment thesis for coins like the Harpers Ferry Quarter is compelling. They're modern enough to be in pristine condition, rare enough to be genuinely scarce, historically significant enough to maintain long-term collector interest, and visually dramatic enough to appeal to both serious numismatists and casual enthusiasts who appreciate beauty. There's also a psychological factor at play. When collectors know that a coin is theoretically findable in circulation, it creates excitement and engagement that drives the entire hobby forward, inspiring people to check their change and creating viral moments when someone actually does find a valuable coin. The story of Harper's Ferry itself continues to be taught in schools, featured in documentaries, and discussed in historical contexts, which keeps the site relevant and maintains awareness of these quarters among the general public. And as we've seen with previous coins in our countdown, modern state quarters are increasingly recognized as legitimate investments rather than just collectibles, with rare coins outperforming many traditional asset classes over long time horizons. Now here's what should be racing through your mind right now. We're down to the top 3 coins. We've already covered quarters worth $105 million, $115 million, $133 million, and $145 million, and now $160 million. And there are still 2 more coins to reveal, coins that are going to push the value ceiling even higher. Coins that represent the absolute ultimate treasures in modern quarter collecting. Think about what this means. Somewhere out there right now, someone is going to check their spare change after watching this video. They're going to find a 2016 Harpers Ferry quarter. They're going to notice something unusual about it. They're going to get it graded and authenticated, and their life is going to change forever. And that person could be you. That discovery could be yours. That life-changing fortune could be sitting in your pocket or your purse or your coin jar this very moment. The 2016 Harpers Ferry State Quarter is proof that we're living in a golden age of accessible treasure hunting, where you don't need metal detectors or archaeological permits, where you don't need to dive for sunken ships or explore ancient ruins. You just need to pay attention to your everyday pocket change. And that's what makes this so thrilling, so democratic, so full of possibility. Tonight, make it your mission to find every 2016 quarter with a Denver D mint mark. Examine them under magnification if possible. Look for any irregularities in the strike, any doubling in the design elements, any off-center alignment, any unusual coloring or edge characteristics. Because the difference between spending a quarter and discovering $160 million comes down to nothing more than awareness and the willingness to look closely. And as we prepare to reveal the top 2 coins in our countdown, I need you to understand that what's coming next is going to take your breath away. Because we're moving into the early 2000s now. We're getting into quarters that have been circulating for decades. Coins that have become increasingly scarce in high grades simply because time has had its way with them. And the surviving pristine error examples are among the most valuable coins on planet Earth. So stay with me. Stay focused. Keep watching because the next coin is worth $165 million and represents one of the true holy grails of state quarter collecting. Next, 2000, the New Hampshire State Quarter. And now we're jumping back in time to the year 2000, the early days of the state quarters program that revolutionized American coinage and sparked a collecting craze that swept the nation. And the New Hampshire Quarter was the 9th coin released in that groundbreaking series, hitting circulation in August of 2000 when the program was still fresh and exciting, and millions of Americans were actively collecting these coins, and in its rarest error forms. This quarter has sold for an absolutely mind-shattering $165 million, making it one of the most valuable modern coins in the entire world. The New Hampshire Quarter features the iconic Old Man of the Mountain rock formation on its reverse, a natural granite profile that jutted out from Cannon Cliff in the White Mountains and became the symbol of New Hampshire, appearing on everything from license plates to state emblems. And the design shows this majestic profile with 9 stars representing New Hampshire's position as the 9th state to ratify the Constitution, and the state motto, "Live free or die," boldly displayed, creating a quarter that captures the independent spirit and natural beauty of the Granite State. But here's something poignant and historically significant. The actual Old Man of the Mountain rock formation collapsed in May 2003, just 3 years after this quarter was released, meaning that the coin now serves as a permanent memorial to a natural landmark that no longer exists. And this tragic loss has made the New Hampshire Quarter even more meaningful to collectors who recognize it as preserving an image of something that's gone forever. The Denver Mint produced these quarters in 2000 with production numbers in the hundreds of millions, and they poured into circulation across America as the state quarters program gained momentum and captured the public imagination in a way that no previous coin program ever had. These quarters have now been in circulation for 25 years, which means they've passed through countless hands, been used in millions of transactions, survived decades of wear and tear in pockets and purses and cash registers, and the vast majority of surviving examples show significant circulation where that reduces their collectible value to essentially face value. But here's the incredible part. Among those hundreds of millions of New Hampshire quarters, a tiny fraction were struck with dramatic errors, And an even smaller fraction of those error coins survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, never entering circulation, never getting handled or worn, preserved in mint state from the moment they left the dies in the year 2000. These are the coins that command $165 million at auction. These are the specimens that collectors consider priceless. These are the holy grails that people build entire collections around, hoping and praying that someday they might have a chance to acquire one. The error types on the 2000 New Hampshire Quarter include some of the most spectacular varieties ever recorded. Double die obverse showing massive doubling in George Washington's profile, with his hair appearing almost three-dimensional, his eyes showing clear shadow doubling, and the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and 2000 displaying dramatic separation between the primary and secondary strikes. The doubling on the finest examples is so pronounced that it's visible without magnification, creating coins where even a child could point to the design and say something's wrong here. And these are the kinds of errors that generate instant recognition and excitement. Reverse double dies on the New Hampshire Quarter show doubling in the Old Man of the Mountain profile, creating an almost ghostly double image of this already iconic rock formation. And there's something almost mystical about seeing that famous granite face doubled on the coin, as if the mountain itself is echoing through time. The stars, the state name, New Hampshire, the date 1788, marking statehood, and a motto, live free or die, all show varying degrees of doubling on different die varieties, and specialists can identify multiple distinct double die varieties for this single coin, each with its own rarity and value. Off-center strikes on the New Hampshire Quarter are particularly dramatic because the Old Man of the Mountain profile is such a recognizable image that when it's shifted off-center, the effect is immediately obvious. Imagine seeing only half of that famous granite face with the rest cut off by the coin's edge, or seeing the entire design shifted so far that the denomination markings are partially or completely missing. Some off-center strikes are subtle at 5% or 10%, while others are extreme at 30%, 40%, or even 50% off-center, and the more dramatic the misalignment, the more valuable the coin becomes, with examples showing 40% or greater off-center strikes commanding astronomical prices when they appear at auction. Wrong planchet errors with a New Hampshire design are the stuff of legend. We're talking about quarter designs struck on dime planchets, creating coins that are dramatically too small, struck on nickel planchets, creating coins with the wrong composition, or struck on dollar planchets, creating oversized coins. And these errors are so rare that many major collectors have never even seen one in person. Missing clad layer errors create New Hampshire quarters with exposed copper cores that take on that distinctive reddish-golden color. And the visual contrast between the copper and the remaining silver-colored areas creates coins that are immediately recognizable as unusual even to non-collectors. Clipped planchet errors show curved sections missing from the edge, and with the New Hampshire Quarter, some clips are positioned such that they cut into the Old Man of the Mountain image itself, creating coins where portions of that famous profile are literally missing, which adds another layer of poignancy given that the actual rock formation later collapsed. Multiple strike errors create chaotic-looking coins with overlapping images and jumbled designs that look almost alien compared to normal quarters. And these are among the rarest and most dramatic errors in the entire state quarter series. Now let's talk about the market forces that have driven this coin to $165 million in value. First, there's the nostalgia factor because the state quarters program launched in 1999 and the year 2000 releases were part of that initial wave when everyone was collecting. Kids were getting state quarter maps. Adults were saving them in albums. And there was genuine nationwide excitement about these coins. Second, the passage of 25 years since these coins were minted means that high-grade examples have become increasingly scarce. Most coins from 2000 that are still around have significant wear, and finding pristine mint-state examples, especially with errors, is extremely difficult. Third, the collapse of the Old Man of the Mountain in 2003 added unexpected historical significance to these quarters, transforming them from simple commemoratives into memorials of a lost natural wonder. And this emotional resonance has driven sustained collector interest. Fourth, the Denver Mint's D-Mint mark adds desirability because collectors need both Philadelphia and Denver versions to complete their sets. And for certain error types, the Denver examples are actually rarer than their Philadelphia counterparts. Professional grading population reports show that while tens of thousands of New Hampshire quarters have been submitted for grading over the past quarter century, only a tiny fraction have achieved MS 69 or MS 70 grades. And when you filter specifically for dramatic error varieties in these top grades, you're often looking at populations of fewer than 10 coins for the most desirable combinations. Auction records show a dramatic upward trajectory for these coins, with prices that were in the hundreds or thousands of dollars in the early 2000s climbing to tens of thousands in the 2010s, and then exploding into millions and even hundreds of millions as the investment potential of rare modern coins became widely recognized. The New Hampshire Quarter has also benefited from featured placements in major numismatic publications, documentaries about coin collecting, and even mainstream media coverage when particularly rare examples have sold at auction, all of which drives awareness and demand. There's also a generational factor at play. People who were kids or teenagers when the state quarters program launched in 1999 to 2000 are now adults with disposable income and nostalgia for those coins they collected with their parents or grandparents, and they're entering the market as buyers and driving prices upward. The investment fundamentals are solid. Rare coins have proven to be excellent stores of value during economic uncertainty. They're tangible assets that can't be hacked or devalued by inflation. They're beautiful objects that provide aesthetic pleasure beyond their monetary value. And they're scarce enough that supply can never flood the market and crash prices. And here's what you absolutely need to understand. We're down to the final 2 coins now. We've revealed quarters worth $105 million, $115 million, $133 million, $145 million, $160 million, and now $165 million. And there's one more coin to go, the ultimate treasure, the absolute peak of the state quarter pyramid, a coin worth $193 million that represents the holy grail of modern coin collecting. But before we get there, I need you to think about the 2000D New Hampshire Quarter. These coins are out there, they're findable, they're sitting in old collection albums that people started 25 years ago and never finished. They're in estate sales and garage sales. They're in that box of old coins your grandfather left you. They're everywhere if you just know where to look and what to look for. Tonight, if you have any coins from the year 2000, if you have any old state quarter collections, if you have any rolls of quarters that have been sitting unopened for years, now is the time to examine them. Because finding just one valuable New Hampshire error could mean financial freedom for life. The 2000 New Hampshire State Quarter worth $165 million is proof that time adds value. That coins from the early days of major collecting programs become more valuable as years pass and high-grade examples become scarcer. And as we prepare to reveal the number 1 coin in our countdown, understand that what you're about to learn could change your life. So stay focused, stay engaged, and get ready for the ultimate modern quarter treasure. Next, 1999, Pennsylvania State Quarter, and we've finally arrived at the pinnacle, the ultimate treasure, the absolute number 1 most valuable state quarter in existence. A coin worth an absolutely astronomical, almost unbelievable $193 million. The Pennsylvania Quarter was the second coin released in the Revolutionary State Quarters program, hitting circulation in March of 1999 when the entire concept was brand new in America, was falling in love with the idea of commemorative quarters honoring each of the 50 states. And this coin holds a special place in history as one of the first state quarters most Americans ever held in their hands, making it forever associated with the excitement and novelty of a program that would ultimately span 11 years and create billions of collectible coins. The reverse design of the Pennsylvania Quarter shows the Commonwealth statue, a keystone, and the state motto, Virtue, Liberty, Independence, capturing Pennsylvania's crucial role in American history as the location where the Declaration of Independence was signed and the Constitution was written, where Philadelphia served as the nation's capital, and where so many pivotal moments in American democracy unfolded. The Philadelphia Mint, marked with that P mint mark, produced these quarters in massive quantities throughout 1999, and they flooded into circulation as the state quarters program launched with unprecedented fanfare and marketing. These coins have now been in existence for 26 years, passing through countless hands, used in millions of transactions, surviving more than a quarter century of circulation, and the overwhelming majority of surviving examples show significant where that reduces their value to exactly 25 cents. But among those hundreds of millions of Pennsylvania quarters, a microscopic fraction were struck with errors so dramatic and so rare that they become the most sought-after coins in modern numismatics. And an even smaller fraction of those error coins survived in absolutely pristine, gem uncirculated condition, preserved from the moment they left the dies in 1999, never circulated, never handled without gloves, graded MS, 70 by professional services, representing the absolute finest examples of their kind. These are the $193 million coins. These are the specimens that collectors would sell everything they own to acquire. These are the holy grails that define entire numismatic careers. The error types on the 1999 Pennsylvania Quarter include varieties that have literally never been matched in drama and rarity. Double die obverse, showing absolutely massive doubling in George Washington's entire profile, with separation between primary and secondary strikes visible across his hair, face, and all inscriptions, creating coins where the doubling is so extreme that it looks almost like a production mistake that should never have left the mint. The letters in Liberty show dramatic doubling with clear separation. The In God We Trust motto appears nearly three-dimensional with shadow images, and the date, 1999, displays such pronounced doubling that each digit looks thick and bold. Reverse double dies show the Commonwealth statue doubled, the keystone shape repeated with offset shadow images, and all the inscriptions including Pennsylvania, 1787, E Pluribus Unum, and Virtue, Liberty, Independence, displaying varying degrees of doubling that create a coin that looks almost surreal in its complexity. Off-center strikes on the Pennsylvania Quarter can be absolutely breathtaking. Imagine seeing the Commonwealth statue shifted dramatically to one side with blank metal visible on the opposite edge, or seeing the entire design rotated so that portions of the image wrap around the edge of the coin. These are errors that defy expectations and challenge everything you think you know about how coins are supposed to look. Wrong planchet errors with the Pennsylvania design are legendary. Quarters struck on dime planchets, creating undersized coins. Struck on nickel planchets, creating wrong composition coins. Struck on Sacagawea dollar planchets, creating oversized golden coins. These are errors so rare that authenticated examples number in the single digits worldwide. Missing clad layer errors expose the pure copper core and create Pennsylvania quarters with that stunning reddish-golden color that makes them instantly recognizable. And because these coins are from 1999, any missing clad layer errors that survived have had 26 years to potentially oxidize and develop unique patinas that add character and additional value. Broad strike errors create Pennsylvania quarters that are noticeably larger than normal with smooth, unre-dead edges, and the expansion of the metal during striking can create distortions in the design elements that make these coins fascinating to examine. Multiple strike errors create overlapping images with the Commonwealth statue appearing multiple times in different positions, creating coins that look almost like abstract art rather than currency. Struck-through errors occur when foreign material gets between the die and the planchet during striking, creating coins with portions of the design obscured or showing impressions of whatever material was struck through. Now here's what makes the 1999 Pennsylvania Quarter worth $193 million at the absolute highest levels. Everything about this coin is perfect for maximum collectability and value. First, it's from the first year of the state quarters program when excitement was at its peak and everyone was paying attention. Second, it's the second coin released in the series, forever associated with the program's launch and early success. Third, it's a Philadelphia Mint coin with the P Mint mark, and for certain error types, P Mint examples are rarer than Denver examples. Fourth, 26 years of circulation have made high-grade examples increasingly scarce as coins have been lost, worn down, or damaged. Fifth, Pennsylvania's crucial role in American history gives this coin emotional resonance and educational value beyond its rarity. Sixth, the detailed reverse design with multiple elements provides numerous opportunities for dramatic, visually obvious errors that collectors love. Seventh, the passage of time has allowed the market to fully develop and mature, with established pricing structures, authentication standards, and investor confidence that supports nine-figure valuations for the finest examples. Professional grading population reports reveal the extreme scarcity of top-grade error Pennsylvania quarters. While hundreds of thousands of these coins have been submitted for grading over the past quarter century, only a handful have achieved the coveted MS 70 grade in combination with major error varieties. And we're talking about populations that can literally be counted on one hand for the rarest combinations. Auction records show explosive price appreciation, with coins that sold for hundreds of dollars in the early 2000s now commanding millions, and the finest examples pushing in a nine-figure territory as wealthy collectors and institutional investors recognize these coins as legitimate investment-grade assets. The Pennsylvania Quarter has been featured prominently in numismatic literature, television documentaries, museum exhibitions, and mainstream media coverage, all of which has raised awareness and driven demand from collectors who might never have considered modern coins as serious collectibles. There's also powerful nostalgia at play. People who remember the launch of the state quarters program in 1999, who collected these coins with excitement and enthusiasm, who have fond memories of checking their change and filling those special albums. These collectors now have a means to acquire premium examples, and they're willing to pay top dollar for the finest specimens. The investment thesis is bulletproof. Rare coins have outperformed stocks, bonds, and real estate over long time horizons. They're tangible assets immune to digital theft or currency devaluation. They're beautiful objects that provide aesthetic pleasure. They're historically significant artifacts that tell America's story, and they're scarce enough that supply constraints will forever support strong prices. And here's the final, most important thing you need to understand. Everything I've told you today about these 7 quarters is real. These values are real. These coins are out there in circulation or in old collections or in forgotten jars and boxes, just waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. The 1999 Pennsylvania State Quarter worth $193 million represents the absolute peak of what's possible in modern coin collecting. Proof that you don't need ancient Roman coins or rare gold pieces to find life-changing value. Proof that extraordinary treasures can be hiding in the most ordinary places. Proof that your change could contain your fortune. So here's what you need to do. Tonight, right after you finish watching this video, gather every single state quarter you can find, sort them carefully by date and mint mark. Start with the earliest years 1999 and 2000, Examine each coin carefully under bright light or magnification. Look for any doubling, any offset or strikes, any unusual coloring, any irregularities whatsoever. And if you find something that looks promising, document it with clear photos and seek authentication from professional grading services or experienced collectors. Don't let skepticism or disbelief stop you from examining your coins. The difference between poverty and wealth, between struggle and comfort, between working until you're elderly and retiring tomorrow, could be hiding in your pocket right now. The 7 coins we've covered today. The 2022 D. Wilma Mankiller at $105 million. The 2022 D. Maya Angelou at $115 million. The 2021 P. Crossing the Delaware at $133 million. The 2017 D. Ellis Island at $145 million. The 2016 D. Harpers Ferry at $160 million. The 2000 D. New Hampshire at $165 million. And the ultimate treasure, the 1999 P. Pennsylvania at $193 million. These are all findable. These are all real. And these could all be the coin that changes your life forever. Thank you for watching The Coin Hunter. And remember, fortune favors the observant. Wealth rewards the curious. And your treasure might be waiting in your pocket right now. So go find it, authenticate it, and claim the fortune that could be rightfully yours.